Hey everybody, my name is Paul. This is Cindy. Our channel's High Seas Paul and Cindy. We've been getting so many comments on our YouTube page about what to bring to Alaska that we felt we need to do a packing video. And if you haven't, guys, again, High Seas Paul and Cindy on YouTube. Check it out. Subscribe, hit like, share, comment, all those great things. And also, we've been getting so many people asking on our High Seas Friends Travel Facebook page. And again, if you haven't checked that out, High Seas Friends Travel, it's all things cruising, news, tips, and just general information about cruising. All right, my friends, so we really learned a lot of things here on our first Alaska cruise. We really learned a lot of things about Royal Caribbean and again in Alaska, excursions, what to do. So again, we're replying to so many comments on our High Seas Friends Travel Facebook and YouTube comments about what to bring, and so many people have not been to Alaska, so let's get into this. First thing is short and long sleeve t-shirts.
Before we start on that, Paul, let's talk about the weather, how much it changed in each port and each day. So,
yeah, I mean, if the sun comes out, it's going to be like 70 degrees and the sun is really intense. I was expecting it to be kind of overcast and maybe like a drizzle, like Seattle type rain. And we found out the hard way in Skagway that it rains a little harder than a drizzle. So that's where another good reason with the packing video here. But again, we learned a lot here on our first Alaska cruise, and we're so excited to share. We're so excited to go back again. So
a lot of the times the weather was down to 45 degrees and up to 70 something degrees. So the weather changes all the time. So you have to bring the right clothes and things to cover or not cover on Alaska.
Right. So I highly recommend short sleeve and long sleeve shirts. And also I highly recommend like maybe Under Armour or something that's lightweight that you can put under a button down shirt or a t-shirt with the light jacket. Just give you a couple layers in case you do run into that wind or cold. Next thing would be a vest.
I did bring my black vest. I had a sweatshirt underneath it, and then it kept me warm, which was really nice.
And it's easy to take off if you need to take off.
Another thing you got to concern about, Paul, is the temperature from outside to inside of the cruise ship. So you have to dress that way too.
Right.
Because a lot of times if you're outside walking around, you may need to bundle up a little bit. But inside the ships, it was really warm.
Yeah, and that's where I come in with the long sleeve and the short sleeve shirts. So due to the ship, they kept the ship pretty warm. I'd say I actually was quite comfortable on this ship a lot of times wearing shorts, flip-flops, and just regular t-shirts. So that's why I recommend t-shirts, because they really kept it warm on the cruise ship.
They did.
So to me, the next thing is the most important. A waterproof rain jacket or a windbreaker or a light jacket.
Yes.
But I'm going to also add on that because we went to Skagway and it was about 42 degrees. And I mean, it was pouring cats and dogs. I had a nice waterproof jacket. I thought I had a pretty decent small umbrella, but it was super windy. So that ended up breaking. I tossed that. And so the next two things I'm going to recommend is a long waterproof jacket, which my jacket worked, but by the time I got back on the ship, my legs were sopping wet. Thank goodness I had kind of insulated sweats on instead of Levi's, because that would have been real heavy. And also, I did not bring waterproof shoes, so make sure you bring waterproof shoes.
I did buy an umbrella at Walmart. Of course, it was $5, and it was perfect for me, but he had one of my older umbrellas that I bought at the Dollar Tree.
Right.
The wind destroyed it.
Yeah, so make sure you buy a good umbrella if you're going to go that route. So the next thing is comfortable pants and shorts. I found myself at the beginning of the cruise wearing a lot of, I started out wearing shorts and then I went to pants, but I found myself sweating a lot on the cruise ship because they had it so warm and in the venues and stuff like that. So I'm glad I brought at least, I thought I brought 3 pairs of shorts, surprisingly. I don't think you brought any shorts.
No, I was dying most of the time.
Yeah.
And I'm always a cold person anyways, and when I was super warm on the inside the cruise ship, it was not good.
Yeah, and actually in Juneau, I ended up, it was like 75 degrees, blue skies, warm. I ended up wearing shorts and flip-flops and a t-shirt, and when I was getting back on the ship, a lot of the staff was saying, hey, we like this new Juneau attire here with flip-flops, and they were you just never know what you're going to get in Alaska. So, make sure you bring some comfortable, lightweight shorts and stuff like that, because at a minimum, you're going to use it on the ship quite a bit. So,
You are.
yeah. But here's something that came really in handy for me was wool. I brought some wool socks, and I brought my slippers. And that came in handy when I was on my balcony and we were cruising by the glacier area, and it's really cold. And I'm very thankful that I brought thick slippers and wool socks to wear in the cabin and in and out.
And
So,
don't freak out, because when we were going through the glaciers, we were up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Correct.
And the coffee shop didn't open up until about 5:36. When I went down there, of course, Paul was in his nice warm socks and slippers. I went down there. I just threw some shoes on real quick. Everybody down there, you don't have to dress up on those days, because everybody was wearing pretty much their sweatpants, their jammies.
Yeah.
So just to get their coffee and go back up on their balcony to enjoy the glaciers.
yeah, as you'll see on our upcoming videos, we did go to the solarium when we kind of docked there, kind of to enjoy the area and stuff like that. And we went up to the solarium, and everybody was walking around in their pajamas and, jackets and slippers and stuff like that. I was surprised how casual the dress is in Alaska when people go to Alaska. It's pretty casual
compared to the Caribbean. So don't expect people to be dressed up in different places, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, and bring a good selection of hats and beanie caps and stuff like that, and ties for your hair and stuff, because it does get windy sometimes here and there. And make sure you bring, if you're gonna bring gloves. I didn't bring gloves. I brought those hand warmers, and they work good inside my jacket for when we were cruising by the glacier area. And that was the only time that I felt that it was cold, and I was out on the balcony for about 4 hours. So, but I have those little portable hand warmers I put in my pocket. But she brought gloves, and she brought the touchscreen one. So if you're going to be doing video and stuff like that, that's really a good thing.
So that way you don't have to keep taking off your gloves. You just have the touchscreen gloves, and you can just keep doing things what you need to do.
Right. And don't forget to bring your swimsuits, because they got lots of pools and jacuzzis and all that.
That's a must.
And flip-flops. And that came handy on port day there for me in Juneau. I was walking around in my flip-flops. I loved it. It was great. And absolutely, without a doubt, don't forget your sunglasses. The glare when the sun is out off that water is pretty incredible. And let's get into the dinner attire.
We were really shocked on this.
Right. So I had never seen, and I was expecting big things out of Royal and heard how everyone's so formal in the dining room. I had never seen so many people wearing sandals, shorts, and baseball caps in my life.
Like flannel shirts. I mean, even this is
shorts.
An elegant night we're talking about.
Yeah, and so many people wearing shorts and like sandals, and I was completely blown away. So there in the beginning, I dressed up pretty good, this and that, and about halfway through, I mean, I never wore a baseball cap in there, but I ended up definitely got to the point where I wore shorts and a button-down shirt, and I definitely made myself a lot more comfortable in the dining room.
And ladies, remember, you can wear blouses and maybe a nice pair of jeans and some sandals. They accepted that too, so you don't have to bring any ball gowns or any fancy dresses on the Alaska, cruise in the MDR, because it's not that fancy.
Right. And don't forget your cameras, and bring more memory cards, batteries, whatever you think, because you're going to take a lot more videos and pictures than you think by far, which you're accustomed to taking. So, and then of course that goes along with binoculars as well.
That's a must.
Yeah, so we utilized the binoculars quite a bit. We saw 3 whales while we were cruising, and one time we saw roll over. I mean, the one time we got pretty close. I was surprised how close the whale actually got to the ship there.
And we saw some seals actually floating on one of those glaciers. It was pretty cool with the things we saw on our balcony.
Right, absolutely. But again, keep in mind, especially if you're cruising on Royal, they've got the beautiful solarium there, and that was definitely, a high for Alaska cruising. And the 270 too.
270 was nice too.
270 in the back has got amazing views. So definitely one good thing I'm going to give a little, a little early prop here on the Ovation of the Sea is, if you don't have a balcony, the solarium, the 270 are amazing places to catch views if the weather's kind of cold outside.
I remember outside where the smoking section is on that one deck. Was it deck 5? They have lots of seating out. I mean, it's beautiful.
A lot of seating. Unfortunately, I think it's mainly just for the smoking. They've got an enclosed area that hangs off the deck there. And as you watch our vlogs as we go through Alaska here, you'll see that.
Yes.
And something else here I think is really important to bring is make sure you bring a waterproof bag for, anything that you don't want to get wet, camera equipment, lenses, valuables, whatever. Because there's a good chance you're going to run into some rain.
Yes.
You could have perfect weather at every port. You could have cold rain on every port. You just never know. We lucked out. We had I think in Skida, we had a perfect day. It was like 50s and 60s, kind of overcast, partly sunny. And then we had a miserable day in Skagway. It was like barely over 40 degrees. And I mean, just pouring and so windy. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't do the train ride on that one. We were going to do the bus and it ended up selling out. So, we were able to do some other things there and explore the town. The town's got a lot, but with that weather, it made it hard to get around. So it was kind of a short day in Skagway, but then we had the most beautiful day ever in Juneau.
I mean, even the locals were,
Yeah.
don't get used to this because it's not like this all the time.
Yeah, but I've been checking the weather back and forth. You'll have 1 or 2 days cool, rainy. You'll have a couple days 60s, 70s. So, definitely in the summertime, you can get some really nice weather in there. But yeah, don't forget your waterproof bag, and umbrellas and sunscreen are so important. And another good thing that we ran into that we're glad we brought is a portable phone charger, a little power brick.
Yes.
Because you're going to be running your phones down with a lot of video, a lot of pictures, and looking around and trying to find out information. So don't forget your portable phone chargers. And here's something, the first part of the cruise, when we sailed out of Seattle, going through Canada up to Alaska, it was like glass.
Beautiful.
And then once you get in the intercoastal there, it's really smooth. But on the way back, there was that big storm came through. And that was probably the roughest 24 hours in 25 cruises we've ever been on a ship. It was rough.
Yeah.
And I mean, people were getting sick left and right. When you were walking on the ship, I mean, you'd be walking behind 10 people. They'd all go this way, and you couldn't stop it.
And then the ship would actually go back, and then it would like kind of go in. Your head would go. All the pressure. Right. It was pretty rough. I had to lay down on that day.
Most of the day, yeah. And I had to sit up. I couldn't lay down. So, we never bring nausea medicine. We don't take the patch, anything like that. But, I'm going to throw it out there. You could hit some rough weather between Seattle and Alaska there.
You can always get your apples in the, in the windjammer.
And what about those bands?
I've never tried those bands, so you maybe want to bring those bands. They do have ginger ale in the soda machines. There's other options if you don't bring your medicine, but I would recommend bringing some seasick medicine.
Right.
Or some kind of band or something, or a patch.
And don't forget to bring in, this is very important, especially for us. Thank goodness we had, broken in shoes, but we wish we would have had like waterproof boots or something like that. Because in Skida, we went on a couple different hiking trails, like about 2.5 miles. We walked through the Raptor Center. So make sure you bring in some broken in shoes and hiking boots. Don't break them in on your trip.
It's
because, a lot of times that doesn't go well. And here's something really important. We were so disappointed. If you've been following us on our High Seas Friends travel Facebook or Instagram, High Seas Paul, High Seas Cindy, you always know that, when we're on a balcony, we're, out there with our robes and our coffee. But we found out Royal doesn't offer robes, at least on their website, unless you're what status? Do you recall?
I can't remember what status it is, but I was pretty bummed. But what Paul did was...
I just took care of the cabin steward, and I said, hey, can you get us a couple robes? No problem. He even changed them out for us like every couple days and gave us new robes, and those came in handy. So don't pack robes if you're on Royal and you're not on an elite level there with Royal. This was our second Royal, so we're pretty down there in the class.
Yeah.
So I guess the robes are only available for upper reward members. Anyways, we just asked for it and took care of it. We had a great cabin steward, and he would swap them out every couple of days for us. Took great care of us, and that was extra weight out of our bag. So the robes came in handy with the cold weather there. So
you can always ask for a blanket too if you want to sit on your balcony through the glaciers. They'll provide that for you too. So don't be afraid to ask your cabin steward for things, because they'll be more than happy to help you with that.
Okay, guys, to wrap this up, One thing that I really wish I would have brought, especially we kind of knew we were going to do a lot of walking around through the cities, and it was our first time. We wanted to get familiar with the area. We wanted to learn some history. We were just thinking we were going to go to museums and stuff like that. And we did go through a couple hiking trails there in Skyetta, and we went to the Raptor Center. But we wanted to do a little bit more hiking because the weather was so good. But once we got off the general easy trails, to get more in the woods and where the big waterfalls are in the water, they have a lot of bear warning signs. Yes. So the one thing I wish I would have packed in my suitcase would be a small air horn.
Or a whistle.
Or a whistle, yeah. So if you're going to do a lot of hiking in Alaska, I highly recommend bring a small portable air horn or a whistle. Myself, I would probably go with an air horn. So one of those little can air horns. And probably the best recommendation I could give you, we only ran into one where this was a factor one time, is book your excursions early. We weren't even sure 100% towards the end if we were going to go because our flight with Alaska, they were having strikes. We didn't know if we were going to have problems. Then, we kind of waited. We're like, hey, we never been. Well, let's do some hiking. Let's do some exploring. And we should have booked the bus tour that goes the same places the train goes, guided, but they let you get out and take more pictures. So we really wanted to do the bus tour. Next time we go to Skagway, we'll definitely do that. But my recommendation for you is book early.
Book your excursions early.
Yeah, book early. And, keep in mind, nothing's cheap in Alaska. So,
no.
Yeah, probably unpack half of the things you think you need and then probably prepare your budget for double, to spend double what you think you're going to spend.
Yeah.
Because Alaska can cost you some money, especially if you're going to do all the excursions. So we saw a lot of whale watching tours and stuff like that. I heard pretty good feedback. We were fortunate. We saw some whales off the ship as we were going between Canada and Alaska, which was really cool. We grew up in California. We used to do whale watching as a kid. It's not a big thing for us. So we were just looking to enjoy the land and see some other things. And we were really looking forward to doing that guided bus tour. But next time we'll do it. So.
And like Paul said, bring your binoculars because on some of the hikes we saw some bald eagles. I mean, you see a lot of stuff just by walking around. You don't have to do these expensive excursions.
Yeah.
There's plenty to do in the towns, and we can usually when you get off the port, they have a place that has a tour guide there that can give you maps, show you what you could do if walking.
Oh yeah, they've got amazing guide information. There's so many things to do as far as hiking and enjoying the land. Mm-hmm. And another thing I want to throw out there is when you get into Juneau, they've got a lot of, it's probably a quarter to half the price of what the cruise ships charge for excursions to go see the glaciers. So if that's on your bucket list and you have sticker shock by the cruise ships, when you get off, they were bugging us left and right. We probably saw 10, 15 stands we could have did glacier tours on for like $30 to $60 a person compared to what the cruise ships were offering.
So don't freak out if between now and your cruise, if they cancel excursions, there's always opportunities when you guys get off on the port that people are selling excursions. So don't be, worry that you're not going to have anything to do. There's plenty to do.
The only port that I saw an issue with maybe the train or the guided bus tour was Skagway. And I would recommend, especially if you have your heart set on the train, to book that early, or the guided bus tour. Those are probably the two things that I would do. And I would probably do the guided bus tour. It goes to the same areas and there's a lot more opportunities to get out and see the views and take pictures. So
remember guys, when you guys are packing, bring some lighter clothes for inside the cruise ship because it's pretty warm.
Yeah.
And then remember, sometimes the ports could be a little bit warm, but it could be rainy and cold too. So just remember to pack for everything.
Yeah. And unless it's super important to you, I wouldn't pack a lot of formal things, heavy extra shoes, stuff like that, because that was probably the smallest percentage of people that I've seen that were dressed up elegant. Yes. So I was really shocked on that one. And last tip here on going to Alaska from first-time cruisers learning a lot in Alaska is if you cruise when school's out, expect a lot of kids. I was surprised on that. A lot of kids in the music venues and the bars late at night, climbing over the furniture, dance floors, parents.
Jumping up and down.
So we got kids, we got nieces, nephews, we love kids, but You know, that definitely when our kids were young, we didn't let them disturb other people. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for a relaxing cruise without a lot of kids, I would highly recommend May and end of August, September, when kids go back to school. And we just want to throw these tips out there and give you as much information as always, because we're known as the information
That's right.
people, guys. And we want to thank everybody. And if you can, make sure you got the bell notifications on, because we've got a lot of videos coming out. And again, check out our High Seas Friends Travel Facebook. All right, guys, we'll see you on the high seas. Take care. And remember, be kinder than necessary to one another. Bye.
Bye.